Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Enzo Masia and I'm so excited to have you. Today I'm talking about coming out and what that looked like for me and the different reactions that I got from the different people that I came out to as a gay man. But before I get into that, I would like to welcome all those who are watching this for the very first time. Thank you for joining me. If this is the type of content that you live for, that you like, that you enjoy, please consider subscribing. And to all those who are returning, thank you so much for your support. I appreciate you so much. Please continue to like, comment, share, and subscribe so that we can continue to grow as a channel together. And I want to start by all the way from when I came out, I think, to the very first person that I came out to officially, which was someone that I was dating at the time. And when I came out to her, it was my then girlfriend. Um, it was very difficult. It was such an emotional process because in that moment, what I was being confronted with was the reality of who I am and having to come to terms with that. But also on the other side, that reality is now alienating the person that I was coming out to because I was in a relationship with them, and it also had repercussions for them. In terms of the relationship that we were in, what it would mean for that, and also the plans that we were making together as a couple at the time. Obviously they would now be shattered, so it was quite a lot, from her part. I mean, experiencing that, it was a lot, and was also very difficult for me. I remember when I came out to it was very early in the morning. I think it was after 4 a.m. and we were on the phone. We used to actually be on the phone a lot. um Back in those days, was it 2008, 9, somewhere there. And it was in the wee hours of the morning, and we were on the phone call, and it was a very, very emotional, phone call. Because prior to that, I had sort of been distant, and we used to talk every day, because we were in a long distance relationship, and naturally, we would just communicate and talk all the time. But for some time, I had been distant because of all that was happening at the time. That would basically bring me to come out to her and tell her what you know um, happened. But needless to say, eventually, after we worked through all of those difficult emotions and roller coasters that we went through after that, we got to a good place, and she forgave me, and we moved, and she has finally, I guess, made peace with who I am, and she accepts me as I am, and I'm truly grateful for that kind of support and the love that she afforded me, and the grace that she afforded me, at the time, and even still affords to me to this day because we're good friends now. So she is literally the first person that I came out to, and then fast forward, I came out to my, was it my sister first? Yeah, I think so. But yeah, I came out to her first because we were very close, and she outright rejected me, which in the back of my mind I somehow did anticipate. And she basically used, religion to basically justify how she feels, and that she wants better for me, etc., etc. And our relationship was basically negatively impacted by that. From that day, our relationship was just never the same. It just became very, I don't even know how to put it. It just became very, we related to each other on a need to basis. After that day, I think after I came out to her, basically our relationship was more on what do we need to discuss that concerns the family, etc., etc. We would discuss that. If we needed to support each other and be there for each other wherever we needed to, we would do that, and we would support each other, and that would be it. We were never friends after that. That relationship basically died then. I tried very hard, to swallow my pride and to humble myself as far as that relationship was concerned. for it to work, because while I understand that, you're justified within your understanding of, God and your relationship and etc. etc. But I'm still your brother, and that'll never change, and I struggled with that aspect of it, of her just shutting down, and and trying to sort of work through, that relationship. So that was very difficult for me, and it was very difficult to accept, particularly because my mom was already late by then, and she would be the person, I guess, that would sort of have been my anchor, and would have helped me to make sense of it all. But nonetheless, then I came out to the rest of my siblings. My brother was quite the third born. My brother was quite cool about it. Like, he was okay. Like, he wasn't like, majorly shocked. And even the last born, my other brother was also like, not very shocked. They were all, just very supportive and very, loving. And, it didn't surprise me that's how they were, because that's how I've always known them to be. And, they told me about all their friends who are basically asking me about, well, asking them about me and my sexuality, and they always defended me. That was like the sweetest thing I heard, from one of my brothers when he told me the story. It's like, no, my brother's not gay, da 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 da. And when I finally come out, it's like, ah, shucks, they were right, But I'm so grateful, for the fact that he stood up for me in those instances, because people like that are usually typically bullies, in high school. They typically represent, the bullies that I had even in primary school, who bully a lot of kids in school, and put them through the most, because of their homophobia. So I was truly grateful for how they responded. And then I came out to my aunt, my mom's sister, um, and I explained, my stance and to her, and she was also okay. Even though it was kind of like shaky, because you can tell how people receive you, right? But she basically just, affirmed that, she doesn't reject me, and she accepts me as I am, and stuff like that. And the one person that I was really scared of coming out to was my uncle. I remember back in the days, we were at my house and he was visiting. My mom was still alive, and generations were still introducing, the homosexual storyline, to mainstream media. And we were watching the story of Jason and Senzo unfold, and my uncle said, he said, if my son, and he had one son, by the way, who is now late, God rest his soul. But he said, if my son had to tell me that he is gay, I would get a gun and I would shoot him. And those words really, they stayed with me, over the years, as I was, battling my own sexuality, and trying to figure things out and trying to come into myself. They really stuck with me. And when it was time for me to come out to him, those words were haunting me in my head. But I said, you know what, I'm just gonna tell him, and he can reject me or whatever the case may be. I'll just have to, I'll just have to move. And I came out to him, and he was just okay. He talked about how, people are different, and it's okay for people to be different, even though we may not understand why they are the way they are, but we must accept and support them. And it was so affirming, when we had that conversation with him. Um, and it was really, really great. But I think the best experience that I had, coming out, was coming out to my dad, because, um, I've always idolized my dad, regardless of his shortcomings, regardless of, what he did and did not do, what he gave and did not give, in the context of my upbringing. I've always just held him in high regard, because that's how my mom raised us. She always put my dad, like, in a pedestal, regardless of his failings, we grew up and understood, that, oh, okay, so he failed in these areas, because we were now mature enough to be able to see that here are the gaps in respect of, his responsibilities as a father. But as kids growing up, my mom always just put my dad right up there, whether he had done right or whether he had done wrong. My mom always just, she put him right up there. Like, she would never say like a bad thing about him. The things that we learned or discovered about, his absence, etc., and all of those things are things that we began to see for ourselves as his children growing up and maturing to see that. So coming out to him for me was really a big deal. It really meant a lot to me. And so on my 30th birthday, I believe, we took a drive with him. He was actually working. It was a few years before he retired. And I went to work with him on that day, and it was my birthday, and we were driving around the Lowveld in Mpumalanga. And as the trip started, I basically told him that I am gay, and this is who I am. And um, I told him about, the person that I was dating at the time, that, he's actually not my best friend. He is actually my boyfriend. And he was surprisingly supportive. He said, like, it's as if he was reading a script somewhere, because I was so shocked by his response. My dad literally said, "You're my son, and I love you." And that, what you just told me now, does not change that. I'm here for you and I support you. And I nearly cried, you guys. I literally nearly cried because I've always wanted to be affirmed by my dad. you know it's always been a thing for me, because he wasn't there for the longest time. You always want your dad, to be proud of you. You want your dad to show his support for you, his love for you. And in that moment, for me, regardless of the kind of parent that he's been, all the years before that, in that moment for me, when he said those words, my world was okay. I knew that I could face the world, and I could do, whatever I wanted to do, and I could be whatever I wanted to be, because he supported me and he stood by me. And that really, for me, after he said that, like, whoever rejected me, whoever, wanted nothing to do with me because of my sexuality, really didn't matter, because I was affirmed by the one man, whose affirmation I needed all my life. And so I was absolutely grateful for that, and I really, really appreciated that trip. We spent literally the whole day together, and it was great. And he was asking me all sorts of questions, about how things happen, in gay relationships, etc., etc., which is quite interesting. Yeah, because wow, he was really just, he wasn't holding back. And it was making the whole conversation actually very, very awkward for me, because I didn't even know how do you talk to your dad about such things, Um, but yeah, I was really grateful, and I was absolutely amazed. And then I started coming out, I think, to some of the brothers that I served in campus ministry with when I was back in Cape Town. And it was different for each one. Some of them outright, rejected me. They never called me. They, never reached out to me. They basically just, yeah, they moved on with their lives. And I was okay with that, because I mean, post varsity, some of those relationships, we were already not even speaking for the longest time. So it was fine, but it hurt. It really hurt, because those were the people that I did life with. Those were the people that I did sleepovers with. Those were the people that I prayed with. Those are the people, that I came through for and I supported, in their endeavors on campus. And we worshiped God together and we served together. And so when they reacted that way, for some of them, the ones that did not embrace me, I will not mention names. It was just very, very weird. It was really, really a very weird experience. I recall a conversation with one of them. Interestingly enough, we talk now, and he was saying things like, yeah, we used to get dressed in front of you and blah, 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 blah. And I thought, okay, so what are you trying to imply? Because now I was looking back and thinking, never at any given point in time did I look at any of them in a sexual manner. Never, never. At any given point in time, they were brothers. They were literally like my family. you know I've never seen them in that way. I've never looked at them in that way, and so that really, really hurt me when he said that. And interestingly enough, we continue to have conversations after that. Even when I'm in Cape Town, I do see him, and we continue to have conversations. He's still, I guess, on the other side as far as my sexuality is concerned. But his thing is, I will always embrace you and I will not forsake you based on your sexuality, which I appreciate, because we can always have conversations and dialogue. And I'm very honest, about matters, that concern my sexuality. And I'm very clear on other matters where I'm not so clued up about, because I will not, sit here and claim to be the authority on all matters LGBTQIA plus. No, on some issues I need education. On some issues I need to educate myself and get an understanding of how certain things work and how certain things matter. And so he's interested in those conversations, and on some conversations I'm very clear that, here, I don't have the knowledge, but perhaps maybe do some research so that you can educate yourself. I can only respond on matters that affect me directly, because that is my journey and that is my lived experience. And that's not something that I'm taking from someone else, or I'm taking from a book somewhere. I'm talking about my lived experience, and I can only advocate and speak boldly, insofar as that is concerned. And for everyone else, I can only just show support, because I understand the similarities within our journey, insofar as our the world looks at us, and the kind of hate that they spew onto us. So that was my experience, with my brothers on campus that I served with. Um, and it was interesting, to have conversations with my gay friends that I had on campus, after the fact, after I had come into myself, to say, "How guys, why were you guys not saying anything to me about this? Why were you guys like just shying away from having conversations?" And it was quite interesting to have those conversations after the fact. I think one beautiful thing for me is just seeing how they've grown, in their careers, and how they're doing well. Truly, truly, truly wonderful to see for me, and how they've just come into their own. And also, like, just looking at them also going through, different issues that they're dealing with, in respect of, their dating lives, etc., etc. So in a nutshell, I think overall that encapsulates my coming out journey. If you like this video, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and share it with others. Share it with someone that you think will benefit from my story. And yeah, let's be kind. I think if people are coming out, let's afford them the opportunity to come out at their own pace. Let us not push people out of the closet, so to speak. Let people come out when they want to come out, when they're ready to come out. Because that's very important. It's very emotionally distressing for people to keep pointing at you, and telling you what they see about you and in you, which you do not necessarily see, or you have not necessarily reconciled, within yourself. So let's give people grace. If you're watching this video and you are someone who likes telling people that you see that they're gay, or you can tell that they're gay, or whatever the case may be, please stop. Please stop. And now that you can be more empathetic, and you don't have to push people to admit to anything, to confess to anything. Let people tell you who they are. Allow them to introduce themselves as they want to you, because that is their story and that is their journey. Until next time, bye. you.